In today's video, we're revealing some of the rarest and most valuable wheat pennies ever discovered, including the key dates, mint marks, and incredible error coins that have sold for life-changing amounts. Stay until the end, because one of these pennies could be sitting in your coin jar right now, and you won't want to miss it. Imagine reaching into your pocket, pulling out an ordinary-looking penny, and unknowingly spending a coin that serious collectors would fight to own. It sounds unbelievable, but it has happened more times than most people realize. Every year, valuable coins quietly disappear into cash registers, vending machines, and coin-counting machines because their owners never recognized what they were holding. While most people see a single cent, experienced collectors see history, rarity, and sometimes life-changing value. And today, we're uncovering one of the most fascinating examples, the 1952 Lincoln Wheat Penny. Under the right circumstances, and with the right combination of extraordinary rarity, condition, and minting characteristics, examples connected to exceptional varieties and elite collector demand have been associated with astonishing market values reaching as high as $943,000. Before you dismiss that old penny jar sitting somewhere in your home, ask yourself one question. What if your next handful of loose change contains the coin that everyone else overlooked? The difference between a spender and a collector is surprisingly simple. One person sees 1 cent. The other sees decades of history preserved in copper. One spends without looking. The other pauses for just a few seconds before making a decision. Those few seconds have changed lives in the world of numismatics. Hidden treasures are often discovered not in museums or buried treasure chests, but inside forgotten piggy banks, inherited collections, old coffee cans, estate sales, and even everyday pocket change. That's exactly why the 1952 wheat penny continues to fascinate collectors across America. It represents a perfect reminder that extraordinary value can hide behind an ordinary appearance. To understand why this coin captures so much attention, we have to travel back to the early 1950s. America was experiencing tremendous economic growth after World War II. Factories were operating at full speed. Millions of Lincoln wheat cents were being struck, and the Denver Mint proudly placed its tiny D mint mark beneath the date. At first glance, the 1952 wheat penny appears common because millions were produced. However, experienced collectors know that surviving numbers alone never determine rarity. Condition, preservation, striking quality, and unusual minting errors separate everyday coins from legendary discoveries. Now here's where the story becomes incredibly interesting. Most 1952 pennies entered circulation immediately. They were carried through countless transactions, dropped into cash drawers, exposed to moisture, scratches, dirt, and decades of wear. As a result, truly pristine examples became remarkably difficult to locate. Coins that somehow escaped circulation and retained blazing original mint luster are extraordinarily desirable. The higher the certified grade, the steeper the value climbs, and elite examples become fierce battlegrounds whenever they appear at major auctions. But condition is only the beginning. The true excitement surrounding this coin comes from the possibility of discovering unusual mint errors that transform an already collectible penny into something genuinely exceptional. Collectors spend years searching because one tiny mistake made inside the mint decades ago can dramatically change a coin's desirability. The first error experts examine is a repunched mint mark. During the early 1950s, mint marks were punched into working dies by hand before the dies struck coins. Occasionally, the punch shifted slightly between impressions, leaving traces of multiple punches around the letter D. Under magnification, these overlapping impressions create a distinctive appearance that specialists immediately recognize. While not every repunched mint mark commands enormous premiums, strong and well-defined examples have become highly sought after because they document the human side of coin production. Another fascinating possibility involves double die characteristics. Although dramatic double dies are extremely rare, any legitimate doubling on lettering, the date, or design elements attracts tremendous interest. Collectors carefully inspect the words "Liberty," "In God We Trust," the date, and even Lincoln's portrait for signs of genuine die doubling rather than ordinary machine doubling. Authentic double die varieties remain among the most celebrated discoveries in American coin collecting. Then there are die cracks and retained cuds. After thousands upon thousands of strikes, working dies developed stress fractures. These cracks transferred raised lines onto the finished coins. In more advanced stages, pieces of the die could begin breaking away, creating raised blobs or missing design areas known as cuds. These unusual features tell the story of a die literally wearing itself out while continuing to produce coins for circulation. For many specialists, these are not defects but fingerprints left behind by history itself. Off-center strikes add another layer of excitement. Imagine a blank planchet entering the press slightly misaligned. Instead of receiving a perfectly centered image, part of the design shifts dramatically toward one side, leaving a blank crescent opposite the strike. Depending on how dramatic the misalignment is while still showing the complete date and mint mark, these coins become incredibly collectible. Every off-center strike is unique, making each example one of a kind. Another fascinating error is a clipped planchet. During the manufacturing process, metal strips occasionally fed incorrectly into the blanking press, allowing part of a previously punched hole to overlap with the next blank. The result was a coin missing a curved section along its edge. Rather than being damaged after leaving the mint, these clips occurred before striking, making them genuine mint errors eagerly pursued by collectors. Here's something many people overlook. Stop what you're doing for just a moment and think about that old coin jar in your house. Seriously, when was the last time you actually looked through it instead of simply adding more change? Thousands of families own jars filled with pennies collected over decades. Most contain ordinary coins, but every now and then, someone discovers a forgotten wheat penny that had been sitting unnoticed for generations. That possibility is exactly what keeps collectors searching year after year. The 1952 D wheat penny has also earned a reputation as something of a ghost in the marketplace. Why? Because the finest examples rarely appear for sale. Many reside inside advanced private collections, long-term investment portfolios, or family estates where they remain hidden from public view for decades. Whenever exceptional specimens finally surface, competition among serious collectors can become intense. Limited supply combined with passionate demand creates the kind of market environment that often produces astonishing auction results. Professional grading has further intensified interest. Certification by respected grading services provides confidence regarding authenticity, condition, and variety attribution. High-grade mint state examples with vibrant original color command significant premiums over worn coins. Add a desirable error variety or remarkable strike quality, and collector demand increases even further. In numismatics, tiny differences visible under magnification can translate into enormous differences in value. Now let's talk about the headline everyone waits for. Could a 1952 D wheat penny actually reach an extraordinary value approaching $943,000? Under ordinary circumstances, absolutely not. Most circulated examples are worth far less. However, the numismatic market has repeatedly demonstrated that exceptionally rare combinations of elite preservation, important mint errors, extraordinary eye appeal, historical significance, and intense bidding competition can produce breathtaking prices. When two determined collectors compete for a nearly irreplaceable coin, conventional price expectations sometimes disappear entirely. That's why headlines involving six-figure and even higher auction outcomes continue capturing worldwide attention. Here's another question worth asking yourself. If someone handed you 10 pennies right now, would you know which one deserved a second look? Most people wouldn't. They would spend every one of them without hesitation. Collectors, however, examine dates, mint marks, surfaces, color, strike quality, and unusual characteristics before making any decision. That habit separates accidental spenders from informed treasure hunters. Believe it or not, some of the greatest discoveries in coin collecting began with ordinary people who simply became curious. A grandfather's cigar box, an inherited coin album tucked away in an attic, a forgotten envelope inside a desk drawer, or a roll of pennies purchased from a local bank has occasionally revealed remarkable surprises. That's one of the reasons this hobby continues growing decade after decade. Every search carries the possibility, however small, of uncovering something extraordinary. And here's a quick reality check with a smile. Your pocket change has probably traveled farther than most vacations. Those little copper coins have visited grocery stores, gas stations, restaurants, sporting events, and countless pockets before reaching yours. Most are ordinary travelers. But every once in a while, one returns carrying a story worth far more than its face value. As the rare coin market continues attracting investors, historians, and passionate collectors, interest in premium Lincoln Wheat Pennies remains remarkably strong. Demand for certified, problem-free examples continues to outpace the limited number of elite coins available. This combination of scarcity and collector enthusiasm is precisely why knowledgeable buyers monitor auctions so closely whenever exceptional pieces appear. The lesson is surprisingly simple. Never assume an old coin is worthless simply because it looks ordinary. Learn the dates. Learn the mint marks. Study the errors. Use proper magnification. Handle potential treasures carefully by the edges. And if you believe you've discovered something unusual, seek professional authentication before making any decisions. A few minutes of careful examination could protect a coin that deserves far more attention than a single cent. So before your next trip to the grocery store, before you empty that change jar into a counting machine, and before you spend another old penny without looking, remember the remarkable story of the 1952 Lincoln Wheat Penny. History has already shown that overlooked coins can become extraordinary collectibles, and remarkable discoveries still happen today. The next legendary find may not come from an auction house. It could come from a forgotten drawer inside an ordinary American home. If this story has changed the way you look at pocket change, stay with us, because the next coin we're investigating may be even more astonishing. In our next episode, we'll reveal another ultra-rare Lincoln Wheat Penny with a mysterious mint error that has stunned collectors and sparked bidding wars across the country. You won't want to miss the secrets hiding inside the next handful of pennies. What if I told you that a simple 1956 no-mint mark wheat penny sitting in an old coin jar, forgotten drawer, or dusty piggy bank could be worth far more than its face value? Most people wouldn't think twice before spending it. They would toss it into a vending machine or leave it in a cup holder inside the car without a second thought. But collectors know something the average person doesn't. Hidden among millions of ordinary pennies are a handful of extraordinary survivors with rare minting errors that have transformed them into some of the most desirable Lincoln Wheat cents in the hobby. Imagine discovering that a coin you've owned for years could attract serious attention from elite collectors and command astonishing prices at auction. Before this video ends, you'll understand why experienced numismatists inspect every 1956 wheat penny they find and why ignoring one could be a costly mistake. Here's the difference between a spender and a collector. A spender sees 1 cent. A collector sees history, craftsmanship, rarity, and opportunity. That single penny could have traveled through thousands of hands over decades, surviving economic booms, recessions, family inheritances, and countless cash registers. Yet one tiny mistake made during the minting process can separate an ordinary coin from one that becomes the centerpiece of an advanced collection. That is exactly why the 1956 no-mint mark wheat penny continues to fascinate experts across America. The story begins in Philadelphia during the final years of the classic Lincoln Wheat cent series. In 1956, the Philadelphia Mint produced hundreds of millions of pennies. Unlike coins struck at Denver or San Francisco, Philadelphia cents of that era normally carried no mint mark beneath the date. That means every genuine Philadelphia issue naturally appears without a mint mark. On the surface, that sounds common, and for most examples it certainly is. But hidden within this enormous production are incredibly scarce error coins that have become legendary among serious collectors. Before we dive into those remarkable errors, take a quick mental note. If you have a coin jar at home, an old family collection, or inherited coins from parents or grandparents, don't assume every penny is ordinary. Many valuable discoveries have happened because someone decided to examine old change instead of spending it. Your next treasure might already be sitting only a few steps away. Now let's explore what transforms an ordinary 1956 no-mint mark wheat penny into a collector's dream. One of the first characteristics experts search for is a dramatic double die. During die creation, even the slightest misalignment can produce doubling on the design. Instead of sharp single letters and numbers, you'll notice extra outlines or thickened impressions. On authentic double die examples, collectors often inspect the date, the word Liberty, and the motto "In God We Trust." Genuine doubling appears as part of the die itself rather than simple machine doubling caused during the strike. This distinction is critical because true double dies are significantly rarer and command much stronger premiums. Another highly desirable variety involves die cracks and retained cuds. As production continued at tremendous speed, working dies gradually weakened. Small fractures developed inside the hardened steel. Those fractures eventually transferred raised lines onto the coins. While tiny die cracks are fairly common, dramatic examples stretching across Lincoln's portrait or through the reverse wheat ears are much more desirable. Larger retained cuds, where a portion of the die begins breaking away, create raised blobs of metal that instantly attract advanced collectors. Equally fascinating are off-center strikes. During normal production, the planchet should sit perfectly aligned beneath the dies. But when that alignment shifts, part of the design fails to strike properly. A 10 to 20% off-center example, while still showing the complete date, can become extremely collectible. Larger off-center strikes displaying clear design elements often generate intense bidding because no two examples are exactly alike. Another remarkable error is the broad strike. Normally, the retaining collar surrounds the coin during striking to create its proper diameter and raised rim. When the collar fails, the metal expands beyond normal boundaries. The result is a wider coin with flattened edges that immediately stands apart from ordinary wheat pennies. Collectors appreciate broad strikes because they demonstrate exactly how one small mechanical failure inside the mint can create something extraordinary. Then there are dramatic die clashes. Occasionally, the obverse and reverse dies collide without a planchet between them. That impact transfers faint design elements from one die onto the other. Future coins struck with those damaged dies may display ghost-like outlines where they do not belong. These mysterious impressions are subtle but fascinating, and experienced numismatists carefully inspect every unusual surface under magnification. Here's something many beginners overlook. The highest values almost always belong to coins that combine multiple desirable traits. Imagine finding a brilliant uncirculated 1956 no-mint mark wheat penny with bold original red color, exceptional eye appeal, and a dramatic double die or striking error. Those combinations are extraordinarily scarce because most coins entered circulation immediately after leaving the mint. Years of commerce, scratches, oxidation, and environmental damage eliminated countless high-grade survivors. Now ask yourself one question. When was the last time you actually examined the pennies in your possession instead of spending them automatically? Most people never look. That's exactly why remarkable discoveries continue to happen today. Condition plays an enormous role in determining value. Professional grading services evaluate every detail, including luster, strike quality, surface preservation, and color designation. A circulated example with heavy wear might only carry modest collector interest. But an untouched mint-state coin displaying blazing original red surfaces can multiply in value dramatically. Each grade increase represents a significant jump in rarity because fewer pristine examples remain after nearly 7 decades. Color designations matter as well. Collectors generally classify copper coins as brown, red-brown, or red. Brown coins have naturally toned over time. Red-brown examples retain portions of their original mint color. Fully red specimens preserve nearly all of the vibrant copper brilliance they displayed when first struck. Since original red surfaces are extremely difficult to preserve for decades, premium examples consistently command stronger prices in competitive auctions. The market for rare Lincoln wheat cents has experienced remarkable growth over the years. As more collectors enter the hobby and registry set competition intensifies, exceptional error coins continue attracting worldwide attention. Wealthy collectors often compete aggressively whenever a newly discovered top-quality variety appears. That fierce competition explains why auction records continue climbing for the finest known examples. Now let's address the figure that captures everyone's imagination. Could a 1956 no-mint mark wheat penny actually be worth hundreds of thousands of dollars? The answer depends entirely on the specific coin. Ordinary circulated examples remain common and are generally worth only modest premiums. However, an extraordinary specimen featuring an exceptionally rare combination of major mint errors, elite preservation, documented authenticity, and overwhelming collector demand could achieve astonishing results in the right auction environment. Some experts believe that if an unprecedented example with spectacular characteristics surfaced and attracted determined bidders, its market potential could approach an incredible $783,000. That possibility may sound unbelievable, but history repeatedly proves that rarity drives value. Collectors are not simply purchasing metal. They are purchasing uniqueness, history, survival, and the story behind an extraordinary minting mistake. When supply is measured in only a handful of known examples and demand continues rising, prices can reach levels few people ever imagined possible. Here's another reason you should never clean old coins. Many well-intentioned owners polish copper cents hoping to improve their appearance. Unfortunately, cleaning usually destroys original surfaces and significantly reduces collector value. Professional buyers prefer untouched originality over artificial shine every single time. If you believe you've discovered an unusual coin, handle it carefully by the edges and consider professional authentication before making any decisions. Think about how many pennies have passed through your hands during your lifetime. Thousands? Tens of thousands? Nearly all disappeared without notice. Yet all it takes is one extraordinary survivor to completely change the story. That's why experienced collectors examine dates, mint marks, strike quality, and unusual features with patience. They understand that hidden treasures rarely announce themselves. The excitement surrounding rare wheat pennies isn't just about money. It's about solving mysteries. Every error coin tells the story of a split-second mechanical event inside the mint decades ago. A misaligned die, a cracked tool, a missing collar, a shifted planchet. Those tiny manufacturing accidents became permanent historical fingerprints frozen in copper forever. So before you dismiss another handful of pocket change, remember this. The next coin you overlook could be the one every collector dreams about finding. Spenders see loose change. Collectors see opportunity. That difference in perspective has led to some of the greatest discoveries in numismatic history. If today's story changed the way you look at pennies, you're already thinking like a collector. Keep searching carefully. Compare every detail, learn the diagnostics of genuine error coins, and never underestimate what an overlooked wheat penny might be hiding. The next remarkable discovery could happen in your own home, inside an inherited collection, or even in everyday circulation where millions of people continue overlooking valuable coins. And don't miss our next episode, because we'll uncover another ultra-rare American coin with a history even more mysterious, an error even more dramatic, and a value that has stunned collectors across the country. You definitely won't want to spend that one before you know what it's really worth. Imagine reaching into your pocket, pulling out what looks like an ordinary penny, and unknowingly spending a coin that could be worth as much as $956,000. It sounds impossible, but stories like this are exactly why serious coin collectors never ignore their spare change. Every year, millions of Americans toss old pennies into jars, cash them in at coin-counting machines, or spend them without a second thought. But collectors know something most people don't. Hidden among common coins are extraordinary rarities that can completely change someone's financial future. The difference between a spender and a collector isn't luck, it's knowledge. Today, we're uncovering one of the most fascinating mysteries in American numismatics: the 1957 Lincoln Wheat Penny. Before you dismiss that old penny sitting in your drawer, ask yourself one question. What if you've been carrying a small fortune without even realizing it? The 1957 Wheat Penny was produced at the Denver Mint during the final years of the famous Lincoln Wheat Cent series. At first glance, it appears completely ordinary. Billions of Lincoln cents were produced during the 1950s, making them one of the most common coins ever struck. That's exactly why this coin is so deceptive. Hidden among millions of normal examples are a handful of extraordinary error coins that have become legendary in the collecting community. These rare pieces are so difficult to locate that many collectors spend decades searching without ever finding one. Every surviving example tells a story of a split-second mistake inside the mint that transformed an ordinary 1-cent coin into an object of tremendous value. The late 1950s represented an important period in American coin production. Demand for pennies was extremely high as the nation's economy continued to expand. Mint presses operated at incredible speed, producing thousands of coins every hour. Whenever machinery operates under intense pressure, mistakes become inevitable. Most errors were caught before leaving the mint, but a tiny number escaped quality control. Those accidental survivors are now considered hidden treasures, with collectors constantly searching bankrolls, estate collections, and inherited coin jars hoping to discover one that everyone else overlooked. Now here's where things become truly exciting. If you own a 1957 wheat penny, stop listening for just a moment and make a mental note to check it carefully after this video. That small coin could contain details that separate a 1-cent piece from a life-changing collectible. Most people never inspect their pennies closely enough, and that's exactly why valuable coins continue appearing in everyday collections. The first feature experts examine is the mint mark. A genuine 1957 penny carries a small D beneath the date, indicating it was struck in Denver. While the mint mark itself isn't rare, its combination with certain minting mistakes is what attracts enormous attention. Authentication is essential because valuable error coins display characteristics that cannot be duplicated by ordinary circulation damage. One of the most desirable possibilities involves dramatic double die characteristics. Although the famous 1955 double die often receives the spotlight, certain 1957 pennies exhibit noticeable doubling on lettering, numbers, or design elements caused during die creation. This is completely different from machine doubling. True hub doubling creates rounded, separated design features with clear definition. Collectors carefully inspect the words "Liberty," "In God We Trust," and the date itself under magnification, searching for evidence of genuine doubling that dramatically increases desirability. Another remarkable error is the repunched mint mark. During this era, mint marks were punched into working dies by hand. Occasionally, the punch shifted between impressions, creating overlapping or misplaced mint marks. On certain 1957 cents, careful examination reveals traces of multiple impressions surrounding the D. These subtle details often require magnification, but experienced collectors recognize them immediately. Coins with strong repunched mint marks frequently command impressive premiums because they represent a fascinating chapter in mint production history. Off-center strikes create another category of extraordinary rarity. Imagine a blank planchet entering the coining press slightly misaligned. Instead of receiving a perfectly centered design, part of the coin remains blank while the remaining image shifts dramatically toward one side. The larger the off-center strike while retaining the full date and mint mark, the more valuable the coin generally becomes. Extreme examples are prized because no two are exactly alike, making every surviving specimen unique. Die cracks and retained cut errors also deserve serious attention. Over time, enormous striking pressure weakens coin dies until tiny fractures develop. These cracks transfer onto coins as raised lines crossing the design. In more advanced cases, pieces of the die actually break away, producing large raised blobs known as cuds. While small die cracks are relatively common, dramatic retained cuds on a 1957 wheat penny are significantly scarcer and highly collectible. Another error that excites advanced collectors is the broad strike. This occurs when the retaining collar fails during striking, allowing the metal to expand beyond its intended diameter. The result is a coin with unusually broad dimensions and distorted edges. Broad-struck Lincoln cents are immediately recognizable and often generate substantial interest whenever authenticated examples appear at major auctions. Perhaps even more intriguing are wrong planchet errors. Although extraordinarily uncommon, there are documented cases throughout American coinage where cents were accidentally struck on planchets intended for other denominations or even foreign coins. These mistakes produce coins with unusual weight, color, or diameter. Whenever a certified wrong planchet Lincoln cent reaches the marketplace, competitive bidding can push prices to astonishing levels because of their extreme rarity. Here's something most people never consider. How many old jars of pennies are sitting forgotten in attics, basements, or inherited collections across America? Every one of those containers represents thousands of opportunities. While many people see loose change, knowledgeable collectors see potential discoveries. That's the difference between overlooking history and preserving it. Condition is another critical factor that separates ordinary value from extraordinary auction results. Two identical error coins can differ in value by hundreds of thousands of dollars simply because one survived with exceptional preservation. Professional grading services evaluate strike quality, luster, surface preservation, and overall eye appeal before assigning numerical grades. Coins certified in mint state 66, 67, or even higher become incredibly desirable because so few examples survive in pristine condition after decades of circulation and storage. Color designation also plays an enormous role. Freshly preserved copper coins displaying their original brilliant red surfaces receive the red designation from grading companies. Red examples are dramatically scarcer than red-brown or brown coins because copper naturally darkens over time. A spectacular 1957 D error coin with full original red color becomes exponentially more desirable among advanced collectors competing for registry quality collections. So where does the astonishing figure of $956,000 come from? It's important to understand that values at this level represent exceptional, authenticated coins possessing extraordinary combinations of rarity, dramatic mint errors, elite condition, and intense collector demand. Not every 1957 D wheat penny carries this value. In fact, the overwhelming majority remain worth only modest amounts. However, the rarest certified examples featuring spectacular minting errors combined with top-tier preservation can inspire fierce competition whenever they appear in prestigious auctions. Wealthy collectors often wait years for opportunities to acquire coins of this caliber. And when two determined bidders refuse to back down, prices can climb far beyond expectations. The coin market has experienced tremendous growth over recent years. Rising interest from investors, expanding online auction platforms, and increasing appreciation for tangible historical assets have introduced thousands of new buyers into the hobby. Rare error coins occupy a unique position because supply can never increase. The mint stopped producing wheat pennies decades ago, meaning every surviving example becomes part of a permanently limited population. As demand grows while supply remains fixed, exceptional coins naturally become more competitive. Here's a question worth asking yourself. If someone offered you a sealed jar filled with thousands of old wheat pennies for just a few dollars, would you walk away? Most people probably would. Experienced collectors wouldn't hesitate. They understand that extraordinary discoveries almost always hide among ordinary-looking coins. One common mistake beginners make is attempting to clean old pennies before having them evaluated. Never clean a potentially valuable coin. Even gentle polishing permanently damages original surfaces and can dramatically reduce collector value. Professional graders prefer untouched coins exactly as they were found. Dirt can often be removed safely by conservation experts if necessary, but improper cleaning can erase thousands, or even hundreds of thousands of dollars in potential value within seconds. If you believe you've discovered an unusual 1957 D wheat penny, begin by examining it under strong lighting with a quality magnifier. Compare the lettering, date, mint mark, and overall design against verified reference images. Measure its weight using a precise digital scale if possible, and never rely solely on internet speculation. The next step should always involve professional authentication through a respected third-party grading service. Certification not only confirms authenticity but also provides confidence for future buyers should you decide to sell. Think about how many remarkable discoveries have already happened. Valuable coins have been found inside inherited collections, forgotten coffee cans, estate sales, flea markets, and even ordinary pocket change. Every discovery began with someone taking a closer look instead of assuming every penny was the same. That's the habit that separates collectors from everyone else. The story of the 1957 D wheat penny reminds us that history often hides in plain sight. A coin originally intended to purchase a piece of candy can evolve into a museum-worthy collectible admired by experts around the world. Every scratch-free surface, every unusual die variety, and every dramatic mint error tells the story of American manufacturing during one of the nation's most fascinating eras. That combination of history, rarity, and collector passion is exactly what transforms ordinary metal into extraordinary wealth. So before you spend another handful of pennies, take a few moments to examine them carefully. Your next incredible discovery could already be sitting in a coin jar, tucked inside an old wallet, or waiting quietly in a family collection that's been ignored for decades. The difference between 1 cent and a potential fortune often comes down to recognizing the tiny details that everyone else misses. And if you think the 1957 wheat penny is impressive, wait until you see the next coin we'll uncover. In our next episode, we'll reveal an ultra-rare Lincoln cent with an astonishing mint error that has stunned collectors and generated unbelievable auction prices. You won't want to miss that one, because the next hidden treasure could be even closer than you think.